Vegas Valley Winery. I'm Mark. This is the first night of my art exhibition that's going to be going for a little bit of time, I guess. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming out. Thanks. Great. What made your story? We got more going. Tomorrow night, Vegas Valley Winery is having their 5th anniversary, and I just wanted to thank all the staff here. I've had a lot of glasses of wine with people. I've made some wine with people. It's really been a lot of fun. So I'm going to talk about the paintings and how it's all kind of worked in, all the type of fun stuff with it. But before we get into anything, I wanted to give a couple of shout outs, I guess. First to my wife, Alicia, who most people know, who made the gift baskets for everybody for the food. And on top of that, even better, my mother-in-law, who provided the bottles of wine for everybody. They kind of went above and beyond to make kind of tonight. Come on, man. We're all friends here tonight. So we just wanted to make sure, they wanted to make sure that it was a great evening. Everybody had a great time. So I'm very thankful for that. So just wanted to kind of get into the paintings, tell you a little story about each of them, and then we can get back to drinking some wine. And then Casey, who's one of my favorite musicians in Las Vegas, is going to play some music. But I want to draw everybody's attention here to this painting here, which is called Barnes and the Noble Barrel. Just for a show of hands, is there anybody who's their first time in the winery tonight? First time coming out? Okay, there's a few people who come out first time. All right, so hopefully this story is going to resonate a little bit, and it'll resonate with everybody. So the first time that I came to Vegas Valley Winery, Alicia just did a wine pairing in California, at a winery in California, which was a sellout and a big hit. And when we moved to Vegas 3 years ago, she said, okay, I'm gonna take a look around and see if maybe somebody in Vegas wants to do this too, because it was so much fun. And so she was looking around and she said, oh, I found this place, Vegas Valley Winery. Now, the first thing, hopefully you all did the same thing as I did, is that Vegas has a winery? Okay, well, great. Well, very good. So, you know, it was like a Wednesday afternoon, and she called up Crystal, and Crystal just had a baby, so she's not here tonight, but she's fantastic. The whole staff here is. But she called up Crystal and said, hey, I'm going to bring you down some food to taste, and maybe we can do one of these pairing things. So I'm probably sitting on the couch or sitting downstairs, and Alicia goes, hey, I'm going out to Vegas Valley Winery. Would you like to come along with me? And I said to myself, well, it's Wednesday and a glass of wine, that's a win-win here. So yeah, sure, I'm coming in. So we get in the car, you know, Alicia made up a couple of things. We get in the car, we put in the GPS. And, you know, we go down the highway, we finally get down to the casino that they just tore down. Then we're coming down the road here, and I'm looking at the GPS, I'm like, shouldn't we be going up to the hills? Like, what? This is a winery, right? What are we doing? You know, when we were coming down, we get closer, the GPS says we're getting closer. We get down to the car lots down there where they're selling the cars. And I'm like, I'm not saying anything because I don't want to be a piss pant. I'm like, look, I'm just coming to have a drink of wine. I don't want to ruin anything. You know, Alicia's doing some business. So, you know, the GPS keeps on going down. So we get down to the end here, and the GPS says, okay, we're turning into the parking lot here. So finally I verbalize to Alicia, where the hell are we? What am I doing here? So we come in, and we're 2 miles an hour now, we're creeping down, and we're looking over across the street, and they're loading in, you know, they got the semi-trucks they're loading in. And I look over, I see some shady guys, I think they were unloading like illegal pandas from China. You know, I say, yeah, I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, what is this place, right? So we come down, and I see that flag kind of spinning in the wind. And I'm like, is that Vegas? What does that say? What is it? So we park out front, we kind of sheepish, you know, come up to the door, we peek our way in, and I see Vegas Valley Winery, and I come in, I'm like, wow, this is cool, like a little cool tasting. This is great. So Alicia goes in the back. I go, you know, where you guys are up in the bar there, right? peek over the bar, make sure no pandas are running around out there, right? So I sit down and I'm like, well, my next question is, how is this wine going to be? So I'm sitting up there and they push the wine in front of me, and I can't remember my first glass. It was either the Tempranillo or the Cuvée, I can't remember. But I got a glass of the wine and I said to myself, wow, this is a damn good glass of wine. I'm like, what's going on over here? You know, so I'm sitting at the bar. I'm sipping on my wine a little bit. Come on in, guys. We're having fun. Come on in. So I'm sipping on the wine a little bit, and I'm probably halfway through my glass of wine. And let me tell you, I'm not gonna lie. I'm in my third glass at this point. And so KJ, I don't know if anybody here has seen KJ. He's the winemaker here, and he is the mad scientist of winemaking, the 121 gigawatts of wine. So he just happened to come down here, and he makes his own little rosé, and he mixes it. So, he sat down, and he got to tell me about being overseas and winemaking and all this type of fun stuff. And it was the most interesting hour I've ever had. And it was just a great, great time. Now, KJ's had a little health issue, so we're praying for him. But in that conversation that I had with him, he's like, hey, well, do you know Great Expectations? And I said, Great Expectations? Look, man, I'm just getting over the whole Vegas Valley Winery thing. Great Expectations, what's that? So he takes me in the back, and we see all the barrels of wine. He goes through the whole winemaking experience for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, we've got to do this. So I came out and I talked to Alicia. I said, we've got to do this. We asked our friends. I didn't think anybody would want to do it, but we did. And we did our barrel of wine, and it was the greatest experience. And there's little things along. We crushed the grapes, and then 2 months later we come in and turn the barrel, and then KJ comes in and tells us what all the bugs you're drinking when you crush your wine and all that type of fun stuff. So we do all that, and we come back and had our wine. So this one is called Barnes and the Noble Barrel, and this was a representation of all the things we did in my experience of Vegas Valley Winery. By the way, when my wife told me we're going to Vegas Valley Winery, this is where I thought we were going. This is where I thought we were going. So there was no picture here. I just painted this when I had this picture in my mind to say, okay, but this is a representation when we crushed the grapes, and each of those kind of barns there were the steps along the way. We made our barrel, and I wanted to be very thankful and appreciative of Vegas Valley Winery for having us in, and all of the staff who's been so great. So this is acrylic on canvas. It's 48 by 60, Barnes and Noble barrel. So that's that one. Okay, wait, there's more. Okay, I'm gonna direct your attention over here. Okay, so this is our English Bulldog Bella. My wife and I don't have any children. We always talked about, as we were going through life, we worked and we traveled, and we didn't think it would be fair to have any type of animal or child until we kind of settled down, until we got to a place where we wanted to make sure that we gave that animal the most attention that they deserve. So finally, we lived in San Diego for 10 years, and we came over here, and finally when we got our house and they were building it, and Alicia found Belma, and before we took possession of her, we went on every website that you could ever imagine and read up on bulldogs. Like, we were going to be the greatest parents of bulldogs that anybody ever saw on this planet. So, the snoring, we got it down, we know. The farting, yes, we know. And by the way, she took a lot of heat off me, very good. The diet, they have to have special diets. And on top of that, we can't take them out in the summertime because they're short-nosed dogs, and they have breathing problems, and we can't take them out when it's after 85. So we got when we got Belma, I'm like, look, I'm gonna have this dog trained, and it's gonna be this great thing, and all this type of fun stuff. So we get Belma, and she's the most loving, the best dog that you could ever have, ever. Very stubborn, an own personality, it pretty much changed their lives, I think, for the most part, for the good, type of thing. But in those first couple of months or weeks or so, every now and then she would get into this bow crush position. Like she would bow over and her butt stick up in the air, and she'd bow and she'd look with these big eyes up at us. And I said, oh my God, did she eat something bad? What is going on? What is going on? So of course I run over to the internet. I'm panicking. Oh my God. Okay, no, it's fine. When they go into that bow position, it's an invitation to play. They want you to come and play with them. So I put this right here specifically because you probably see Casey's stuff is here. And I was a professional musician, I guess I'll call it, since I've been 16 years old, all the way up until my mid-30s, late 30s. And I played every tavern, bar, pub, winery, outside festival, anything you can imagine. My buddy John here, when we were 18 years old, and I just calculated it's 39 freaking years, we've been doing this stuff. So I wanted to put this right here for all of the musicians that come in here, because when you're a musician, you don't know what's going on. You don't know who's going to come into the crowd. You don't know if it's going to be 2 people or 200. You don't know if it's going to be the guy that comes in and says, hey, play Freebird. He has a couple of lines in him. So I wanted to put them right here. So there's always an inviting face, and there's always somebody looking down to protect them from the 70s rockers. No, I love Freebird, believe me, and those are my tunes. But that's the one when you get a few wines in you, and it's a different time. It's 2023, and if you're barking out Freebird for folks, it's a scene, man. It's a different thing. So, okay, so we're gonna get into draw your attention to the other side. The winery, I guess the wine vineyards there, that's a painting called The Hills of Napa. And Alicia and I grew up in the Bay Area from San Jose. And we were, about an hour and a half from Napa. So we would always get to go up to Napa a couple times a year. But when we went, it was never we went by ourselves. There was always an anniversary or birthday party, and of course somebody rented a big truck, and there was 30 people, and people from other states you haven't seen in a long time. And I realized that when we would go to Napa, I would drink a lot of great wine, and I would talk to my friends, but I really didn't take a look around me. I had no idea what was going on because I was too hammered drinking all this great wine and catching up with all my friends. Who's getting divorced, who's doing this, oh, my friend's an idiot, you're drinking and doing all these type of things. And I've been up there 50 times. Every time I go up there, I always look at my wife like, have I been here before? It's like, yes. Okay, great. Yeah, I guess I had a few Cabernets that night. So the last time we went up there, we were gonna go up and have dinner with some friends, but we got to go up by ourselves early. So Alicia got a little place, had a little cabin. She actually made a great fire, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, hey. Women making fire, I'm not gonna go for any cliches or anything. It was a good fire, we had a good time. But it was kind of raining and misty up there like now, but pretty much does. And we had a time for ourselves. And so we went out in the day and we got to go to our favorite wineries. And if you've been to Napa before, everything shuts down at 5. You get your drink and that's the end of it. There's no partying late in the night unless you bring your bottle to yourself and go by yourself and have your own bad self good time. So we finally got to our last winery and we went in. It was probably 4:45. We got our last glass of wine. And Alicia says, well, hey, before we go, I got to use the restroom. Great, no problem, go ahead. And I decided to go out back and on the deck there, and I went out on the deck and I looked around and I saw these fields and hills and the sky cleared and there was all this kind of great stuff going on. And I'd never seen that before because I've been too hammered drinking all this great wine. I never took the time to kind of look out at the fields and stuff. So if you see those fields in this painting here, I kind of squished all in everything I saw in view. So there's more hilly situations, and there's kind of a lot of different colors in here. And the reason, if you look back at it now, it's mostly green and the lights are kind of dim, so you can't really see. But if you're from behind, you see that there's all this kind of greenery here. But if you look really close, there's all kinds of colors sneakily put into the hills. There's orange, lavenders, and blues, and pinks, and different things. So the one thing I wanted to do with this painting is to say, wake up, stupid. Like, if you're gonna go into Napa or all these type of places, take your head out of the wine, take a look around, and hopefully that brings a presentation here where there's a little bit more to kind of see. So that's the hills of Napa. So, as we go into the next one over here, I just finished this one at the beginning of 2023. This one's called The Guardian of the Grapes, and it's a little darker. Like I said, in the day it comes out a little bit more. I'll try to explain it the best I can, but I wanted to kind of encompass everything for everybody that came in. So listen, there's a lot of friends here tonight that I had for 40 years, for 2 years, for 5 years, for a certain amount of time. And there's a lot of threads that go in for all these friends. And we, over the years, have seen people have children, their children have children. We've lost some friends along the way. We lost some family members along the way. We worked these crazy jobs, which has been just unbelievably unbearable for the most part. And a lot of people in this room will understand what that means. But anyway, I wanted to kind of encompass all that and how I felt about where we are right now. So this one's called The Guardian of the Grapes. And I don't know what it is. If I can probably say it, the best way that I can say it is I know that how fortunate I am. I've been married over 22 years. I've been with my wife over 26. Obviously tonight there's been friends that have come in that have supported my wife and myself. My health is pretty good for the most part. I get to drink good wine, which is pretty good too. But for some reason, I always feel like there's this cloud over me that's about to rain at any point. And I don't know why that is, but maybe it's a defense mechanism that says, no matter what's going to go on, be aware for tomorrow, because that phone call will come and something's going to mess up and I'm going to have to deal with it. So I wanted to kind of put those clouds up there. They're pretty clouds. It's a pretty sunset. But to say, hey, this might drop down and rain on some folks here. Now, for my wife and I, you can't see really well those hills and the field. I think we're trying to be cool as cucumbers. So it's kind of almost a cucumber green for the hills, that no matter what comes to us, we're kind of good with it, and we're going to kind of deal with it the best we can. But if you can see right in the corner there's our little Belma there, and she's our little guardian. And I put her there to say, when things get really tough, what do we usually do? We usually drink some wine, right? We're at Vegas Valley Winery. We drink some wine together. I probably drink a little bit more than I should, but the grapes kind of represent that. But putting Belma there, she's just sitting, looking at everybody out. And when you're from afar, she kind of looks like she's a nice dog. If you get closer, her eyes get bigger and bigger and bigger, her teeth come out. Because what I didn't tell you about this Belma, that Belma is very protective. Like when we have a glass of wine at home, or if we go out and she sits under the table, anybody who comes close to us, you're going to get a bulldog on your ankle if you start to piss us off. So she's our guardian of the grapes. The name of the painting is Guardian of the Grapes. That's another 48 by 60 acrylic on canvas. So that's that. Okay, so the best for last. In the middle here, this is called Viola's Garden. Now, my great uncle was an artist and a painter in New York City in the 50s and 60s. And he painted the original one of this painting for my grandmother, probably in the early 60s. Now, when I went over to my grandmother's house, this is my first memory, was the painting of this lady. I'm like, who the hell is this lady? What is art? It was a big painting like this, and my grandparents had a very small place. So I would always kind of see that. So with this painting, he painted it for my grandmother, It hung in my grandparents' place for as long as I can remember. My grandmother passed in 1974, and then my grandfather, when he passed, the painting went down to my uncle. So my uncle, in all of his glory and all of his clairvoyance, what did he do when he get the painting? He rolled it up in the canvas and stuck it under his bed. So, I would go over for Christmas, and I get a couple wines in there. I'm like, hey, listen, let me get the painting. I'll put it in a nice frame. We'll hang it on the wall. Let's kind of respect, some of the art. So, of course, I get the painting. And we've hung it from Arizona to San Diego for 10 years and brought it with us, and it hangs in our house here in Vegas. So my uncle, he comes out from one of the holidays and he says, oh, do you know that there's another painting? He painted another one of these paintings I was like, there's another one of these paintings? So the story goes, is my grandmother's sister, my Aunt Jo, she was so bent out of shape that my grandmother got a painting. She didn't, so she whined and pissed and moaned until she got a painting too. So he painted another painting just for her. And I said, well, geez, I have to see this. Okay, well, next time I go to New York, I'll take a picture and give it to you. So, probably 2 or 3 years later, I get this envelope in the mail, and I open it up, and there's these, Polaroid pictures. Now, this is a man who has an iPhone, by the way. He could have snapped it and sent me a couple of pictures, but did he? No. I get the pictures of it, and it's a secondary picture of this girl in the garden. So, I decided, probably had a couple of wines myself, I decided to take on, I said, listen, if there's two, I'm gonna take a stab at it, and I'm gonna try to paint it myself. So to see if I can carry on the tradition and try to connect with my old Italian family or whatever the hell it was, I got to be in my bonnet to try to paint it. So let me tell you, when I started this, I don't know how it is with your guys' family, but with me, it's man, it felt like every brush stroke, I picked up that thing, it was like a 10-pound weight. It was almost like all my Italian family was looking down from heaven, or some of them I'm sure were looking up from hell. And they had their drink and their cigarette and said, "Don't fuck this up," So as I was going through all of this, it was like a cascade of errors, and I would hate something and I almost abandoned it. And I would wake up the next day and I said, "Well, man, it's not that bad," and I kept on painting. But what I did is the last thing I painted was her face, because that face talked to me since I was a 5-year-old kid, and I always tried to look at it, tried to figure out what it said to me. And I was just talking with Ilda tonight, and Ilda said that she was talking to you too, some reason. Now, some of you might look at it, it might be like a scary thing, like the Ring, she comes out and chokes everybody, but that's not what it is. Well, for me, what it looked like is that when I'm looking at her and I see her, it's a day where she's about to get married. She's smiling. It's a perfect day. She's in the perfect garden with a perfect dress with perfect flowers, and she's about to jump into the next phase of her life. And so that's representation in her face. But with that, there's also kind of a look of apprehension. And the apprehension kind of always said to me is like, will I be able to take all of this with me? Will I take this day? Will I have beautiful kids? Will I have a beautiful marriage? And will I be able to take all this stuff into the future? So for me, that's my hope with the exhibition of when you come here, whether it's the wine or the music or hopefully the artwork, is you come in, you have a little bit of a better time, and you're able to take it out with you somehow. So in closing, everybody, thanks so much for coming out. I'm really appreciative of it. There's a lot of threads that I talked about of a lifetime of people that I've known, a lot of experiences. It allowed me to take that and weave it into a tapestry, into a blanket, which was very warm, that I wrapped around myself, and was able to kind of take out negative things and say negative doubt and all apprehension in my life to paint these things, and to do very good things, and hopefully for everybody that I know they see a little bit of themselves in here too, because it's definitely all the experience that I've had with everybody has kind of made these things what they are. So thanks for coming out, drink some wine, have some fun.